Hola, soy Alfonso Escame de Pecados Veniales y en Doble Firma vas a poder descubrir casi todas las marcas de relojería independiente en nuestros Indie Talks. Espero que os guste. Welcome to a new chapter of Indie Talks at Doble Firma. Today we present Edouard Meilland, CEO of Moser and Sie, one of the most innovative and distinguished independent brands in the watch industry. Welcome, Ed, and thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. For those that may not know you, who is Edouard Meilland?
So Edouard Meilland is the CEO and the owner of, or co-owner, I should say, of H. Moser and Company. That's the brand that we own with my family, based in Neuhausen am Rheinfall. It's the eastern part of Switzerland on the border to Germany.
Very nice place to visit. With
it's
the
nice
waterfalls.
Place to visit. We have the biggest waterfalls in Europe. And to be honest, with the amount of water we got in the last few weeks and months, they're pretty spectacular at the moment. So yeah, invite you to come and visit.
Okay. Do you remember which was your first watch as a kid?
I grew up in the watch industry in the Vallée de Joux in Le Brassus. So my father worked for JLC, for Cartier, and then many years for AP. I think one of the key first souvenir of a watch was a Lemania watch he gave me, or my parents gave me when I was, let's say, 6-7 years old. It was a steel watch. It was I remember like a blue hands with Luminova, very small, probably like a 36 or 35 even. And to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed because all my friends had those Casio kind of digital watches, and I was like, why do I have this old mechanical watch? And I lost it since, and big regret that I don't have it anymore. But it's tattooed on my brain. I remember exactly how it looks.
Okay, great. You have been always involved in the watch sector. Is just a family business, or do you have a genuine passion or love for watchmaking? When did you realize that you love watchmaking?
So I was not always involved in watchmaking. That's where I realized that how much I love watchmaking. I think I did a few years in consulting, and for me, what I love is really the product. It's what's behind the product, the craftsmanship, the innovation, the creativity. I like brands also, and I think watchmaking combines this idea of product. I'm an engineer myself. There's research, there's development, there's innovation, there's creativity, there's the aspect of the dimension of brand behind it, and what it means today with the community, with the sharing, the human factor, and that's what I love in this industry, to be honest. I have the chance to create watches that I want to wear myself, and that's an amazing opportunity when you love watches to be able to create every single watch
you are wearing a very nice watch.
Yes, indeed. Brothers in arms. To have this opportunity to create watches for you and your community is an amazing opportunity, and I wouldn't do any other job.
Okay. Can you tell us something about the history of H. Moser and Company? Because it's a Swiss brand, but with Russian origins.
How much time do you have?
As much as you want.
Okay, no, let's stay concise. So H. Moser and Company was created in 1828. Yes, there are some roots in Russia, but it's actually a family from here, from Schaffhausen, from Neuhausen. They were the watchmakers of this region, very poor region, but Mr. Moser was extremely successful in creating his brand, making it one of the most successful brand in the 19th century. In his probably like around 50 years of working, he produced around 500,000 watches with his company. So there's not a single day without people reaching out to us with an old Moser timepiece. We have many in our museum as well. It's a brand that was very successful in Eastern Europe, as you said, in Russia. There's a strong history together with watches for the Tsar, collaboration with Fabergé, maybe one of the first successful and amazing collaboration between watchmakers. So Fabergé and Moser did a collaboration in 1914. And it's a brand that has been in the hands of the family for one generation. The second generation didn't manage to take care of it, so it went in the hands of different entrepreneurs until the late 1970s, where we have a little bit of a gap, where we don't have many watches produced. We cannot find many. Mm-hmm. So the feeling is that there were about 20 years with limited production, and then it really came back to life in the early 2000s with the ancestors of Heinrich Moser. So the family has relaunched the brand with other entrepreneurs, and we had the opportunity with my family to take it over in 2012 when unfortunately it was struggling a little bit.
Okay, great. Why did you choose the slogan "Very Rare Watches"?
So when we took over Moser, we tried to figure out what makes Moser special. And if you come and visit here, I mean, today there's 100 people. Back then we were way less people. But what made Moser special is how integrated we are. That's really something that is quite unique. We make our own hairsprings. We actually even produce hairsprings for about 30 other brands. So we make the hairspring, we develop every single movement. If you look at the movements, we have some very amazing movements, like the perpetual calendar, and we'll probably talk about it, or the chronograph that you're using, with a philosophy that is very different from the others in the sense that we try to make things look as simple as possible when many brands try to go as complicated as possible. Then we are family-owned, family-run. There's not many brands that are owned by a family and run by the family, not many left. So all those elements make Moser very rare. And I think also in terms of design, if you look at the codes, you see some on the back of me, but very minimalistic. We don't put our logo on the dial. We have very strong, I would say, identity with the Fumé dials, with the way we treat every single aspect of the watch. And I think in the end, it's all those elements that make Moser very rare.
Mm-hmm. What is the essence of the DNA of Moser, and what do you think it sets apart Moser from the other brands?
I think the core of why there is Moser, there's too many brands out there. So what I like to say is that Moser is a bridge between traditional and modern watchmaking. I think that's something that, from my experience, I was always very close to the indies, the MB&F, Auvergne, Renaissance of this world, and the Bethune. We always worked very closely with those people, supported them with our hairsprings. But at the same time, we are a historical brand, as I mentioned before, dating back to the 1828, so the 19th century. I think what's interesting with Moser is that it kind of built the bridge between those two worlds. So we are respecting tradition. If you look at the anglage, at the finishing, the type of movement, sometimes inspired by pocket watch movement. But at the same time, we embrace today, we embrace modernism, we embrace new technology, and we try to bring the best of the two worlds together. And I think that makes Moser very unique.
You have said that you're a family company. Is it good to be independent? What are the pros and the cons of being an independent brand?
I'm sure if you ask any independent, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. Personally, I love it. I wouldn't be able to work in a big group. I think I don't have the personality. It's very something that you have or you don't have. As an entrepreneur, being independent means a lot of things. I think if you really embrace this idea of independence, that means, one, you create independently. Two, you communicate independently. So you take your own decisions. You push the boundaries. There's so much freedom in this that it can become almost scary. That you don't really see the limits, but at the same time, it has to work. There's no security. If you fail, then you can lose everything, and that's what push you to be always on your toes. I love to see, like, when people start panicking when there's a crisis, brands like the independents usually outperform the market. Why? Because we are always in alert. We're always looking for an opportunity. We're always been in this firefighting mode that characterize the independent brands. And that's why if you look at the successful brands today, and probably the successful brands of tomorrow, which might not be the same, they are mostly independent. And the most successful of the big ones, the Patek, the AP, the Rolex, are independent. And I'm sure that in 100 years from now, we will see, again, independent brands at the top. It might not be the same again. Hopefully, Moser will be one of them, really at the top of the pyramid. But the reason is because we are in this we are on our toes. We're always extremely reactive, proactive, flexible, not looking at the end of the quarter, but looking long term. Where do we want to go? What's our ambition? How do we get there? And we will put every single bit of efforts to reach that goal.
And also closer and listening the clients, right?
Yeah, I think that's something that everybody can try to do. But I think the big difference is that it's not a team of people you pay for that do that. I am head of customer relationship at Moser. I'm the CEO, but my role number one is head of customer relationship management. And I think that's what makes also the difference, you're right, between the bigger brands that are very depersonalized. They use ambassadors to reproduce this human factor. And the difference between those brands and us, or any brand that has a creator behind, like Faces, that really embodies the brand, is this human aspect. Yeah.
Great. For those that may not know well the brand, can you tell us a little bit about your collections and which one is the bestseller?
Sure. So Moser, as I said, we're very integrated. We do a lot of the elements. Pretty much all the movements are developed in-house. We make all the parts of the movements in-house. We're not yet fully integrated on the habillage side. That's something we're working on, and I think that's probably the discussions for later on. The DNA of Moser, as I said, is very minimalistic, very functional, inspired by the Bauhaus, very minimalistic approach of design. Respecting tradition, embracing the future. We have 4 collections. We have the Endeavor, which is kind of a classic. That's what I inherited when I acquired the brand. It's a classic, elegant, but very sexy at the same time. We bring a lot of interesting elements. I would say our Vanta Black, the darkest material made, makes the darkest, the blackest dials ever. We have beautiful fumé dials with nothing on it, enamel dials. So Endeavor is our classic. We have the Heritage, which is basically a collection where we play with the past of Moser. So we go every now and then at our museum, we pick a historical product and reinterpret it in modern way. Always it's exciting to work on that collection. It's probably the smallest. Then we have the Pioneer, which is kind of, for many, they see it as the entry level to the independent world. It's a fully manufactured movement. It's a sexy watch that is very practical in the sense that it's water resistant. You can have many different straps on it, rubber, croco, but also metallic bracelet. It has the simple function in steel. It's 120 meter water resistant, so center second with Luminova. Pretty versatile product, and attracts a lot of new young collectors to our brand. And then the last one is the one we both wearing, is the Streamliner. Is the newest collection that we created. It's the only in the current collection non-round watch. It's a cushion shape and has a very special, very reptilian bracelet that took us a lot of years to develop, and it's kind of the core of this collection. The bracelet is what we started with. We wanted something that is very different from what the usual brands have created in the 70s, a very modern take of the integrated steel bracelet. And I think that's what we achieved. It's very different from the others. And like with everything we do at Moser, either you love it or you hate it. And it's a significant investment to buy a luxury watch like ours, and we want that it's the right choice for the person who buys it, and that's why there's no compromise. And a lot of people have tried our watches and say, well, it's the most comfortable and it's difficult to take pictures. Yes, because we are very 3-dimensional. It's something you need to feel, touch, put on your wrist before you realize the beauty of a product like this one. It's very complex. It's things that we worked on. And when we compared with these designs from the 70s, these are designs that were made in the last 10 years. And therefore, the technology that we have today that can make free forms very much more 3-dimensional was not available back in the 70s. That's why if you compare with the others are much flatter. Ours are much more round and need to be touched. And again, it's something you need to put on your wrist to realize that, and that makes a huge difference.
It's not because I'm interviewing you, but I have to recognize that is the watch that I'm wearing more often because it's so comfortable. And
we call it the beach to tuxedo watch in a way.
Yeah.
It's a watch you can wear a suit with, and you can go to the beach in your Bermudas in shorts, and you'll feel extremely comfortable.
And also the bracelet that is, for me, is the best integrated bracelet of the market.
Thank you very much. I cannot
say that
anything different.
Okay, you have in your perpetual calendars one of the cleanest dials. What can you tell us about the perpetual calendars and the special caliber?
So I mean, the perpetual calendar is, I would say, the movement that kind of defines the technical or functional philosophy of Moser, and how we define the codes to remain consistent across the collection. And the way the chronograph that you're wearing has been designed is inspired by the perpetual. So it started with the perpetual, where the idea was to say, with any function, we want to focus on the essence of that function. The perpetual calendar is defined by a watch that knows any year whether there's 28 and any months whether there's 28, 29, 30, or 31 days. The perpetual calendar of Moser said, okay, let's remove every singles. So you don't need to know which year you are. Is it 2024, 25, 26? You don't care. What you need to know, is it a leap year? And if not, is it first, second, or third year after leap year? That's what we focused on. Then you need to know the months, and therefore in our perpetual calendar you have a small arrow, which was genius invention, which is stupid if you think about it, but it was genius because nobody thought about it before, that there are 12 hours in a month, and we have 12 hours on the dial, and we have 12 months in the year. So therefore you can use every hour to define a month. So January is number 1, February is number 2, March number 3, etc. So very clean with this small arrow at the center. The leap year is at the back, and then we have just a big date with 2 discs on top of each other to maximize the size of the date. And the disc sliding on top of each other allows you to hide actually the days you don't want. So on the top you have 1 to 15, the bottom you have 16 to 31, and they move to next to each other, so that on the months with 28 days, the small window on the bottom on the top disk will show only will slide with the disk, but below on the 28th. So you don't have, like in other perpetual calendars, this very complex movement on the 29th, for example, of February, where you need to see the jump on the 1st of March. You see 30, 31. Those numbers are being hidden in our movement, and that's why it allows an instant jump. So at midnight, you don't have anything moving for 2 hours where you need to be careful not to break your perpetual calendar if you touch it, if you turn the crown. Ours is child-proof, as we said. You can actually go forward and backwards. You never break it, and it jumps at midnight, which is also unique.
Mm-hmm.
Good summary?
2 years ago, yeah. Yes, sure.
Okay.
2 years ago, you presented at Watches and Wonders the Streamliner Vanta Black with the full case and bracelet in Vanta
blacker
Black.
than black, yeah.
Yeah, blacker than black. All of us were asking you about when it's going to be in production, and you told us that it will take time, but sooner or later we will have it as a regular production watch.
There needs to be a lot of innovation around Vanta Black to reach that, and that's not something we can do alone. So Sur Nanosystem is the one who developed and owns this technology, and they're very skeptical about whether one day it's going to be possible. We're looking at here nanotechnology, nanotubes of carbon that are extremely fragile for now. So until we find a way to really make them much stronger while keeping this very special effect, it's going to be complicated to create a watch that really replicates what we created. It was an art piece. It is in a way to show the futures. That's the ambition of Moser at fairs, is not only to show you the traditional collection, but also make you dream, push boundaries, look at what the future could look like. Doesn't mean every time we'll be able to actually achieve it, but it gives orientations, and material is very important to us. And I hope in the future we can bring those kind of very innovative nanotechnology into the watch industry.
Mm-hmm. Ed, you have won 4 prizes at the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève. In 2006, the Best Complicated Watch, Best Chronograph in 2020, and Audacity Award. And last year, the Best Tourbillon. What do this award mean to you? Is just the recognition from your peers, from the community, or is just more challenging and add pressure to the brand?
No, it's a recognition. I think it's always great to have your peers recognize your achievements, and having won 3 prizes in the last 4 years is incredible. I was dreaming of it when I started with Moser, and every year you try a little bit for yourself. I mean, there's always a little bit of the ego playing there, to be honest, but I think more importantly, it's for the people I work with. Those people, many of them, they stay here. They don't have the chance to meet the customers the same way I do, constantly traveling the world and meeting fans around the world. We have many obviously coming here and seeing the watches, but getting the recognition at the global level like this with the GPHG, where the jury are made of a wide community of experts, plus the jury itself with great experts from the media, from the retail, from collectors, I think is amazing. And to be able to bring that small trophy, you see some here at the back of my desk.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, to bring it back here and to be able to present it to the team. And usually what we do is we have a kind of impromptu lunch or apero with everybody. It's a great celebration, and it makes everybody proud here. And for me, that's the most important thing, is to be able to share this success with the team here at H. Moser.
Mm-hmm. You have presented some new releases for this 2024 at Watches and Wonders.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the novelties, and will we see more novelties during the year?
Yeah, so we have quite a few novelties this year. We started with a few. I think the main focus since the beginning of the year has been a lot on the Streamliner collection. We had the Perpetual Calendar Streamliner with a Salmon dial, the most minimalistic Streamliner Perpetual that we have ever done, available for 12 months only, a big success for us. Then we launched the Alpine edition. We'll come back to that, but we created a special edition for our partner in Formula One, the Alpine team. An amazing watch with a cylindrical tourbillon skeleton. I love it. Then at Watches and Wonders, we presented 2 watches. One was, again, a Streamliner, but here in 40 millimeter double hairspring tourbillon, a new movement. And something that I was extremely surprised with the success of that model is the Citrus concept for the Pioneer collection, which is basically a completely strip dial in a bright kind of lime yellow green color with a white rim around it in Luminova. Pretty cool watch for the summer. We thought we tried to do something different. We always try to do things different at Moser and see whether it works or not. And to be honest, I was very I was like, is it too much something that we like and the customers will not understand? And actually the success is incredible. We have a lot of new customers, like big collectors, discovering the brand for the first time with this watch. So yeah, a big success. Then we launched 2 center seconds again in the Streamliner collection, because we had the transition. We're introducing a new movement, which is a 201. That's the modern version of our center second automatic movement. So yeah, quite a lot of launches on the Streamliner. We still have one Streamliner that we're going to launch very, very soon, which is on the higher end. As you know, we did the Pandemonium this year. It's a collaboration with MB&F for Only Watch. And yeah, very soon we will launch a miniature beater Streamliner. And then the rest of the year will not be about Streamliners. We have 2 collaborations that we will be presenting. A couple of Pioneers and Endeavors, but yeah, amazing watches coming up for the second half of the year as well.
Okay, so exciting. You have been talking that you have collaborated with MB&F, with Max Busser and friends. Yep. You have done it 3 times. What does this collaboration mean to you,
2
and
times.
how do you decide? Huh?
2 or 3 times? I thought 2 times, but yeah, maybe 3.
It was the 101. You with him,
Yeah.
The
Oh,
string,
because there was one collaboration for me. Yeah,
2 watches.
two watches. So there's 3 watches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Max is a great friend. He's a great inspiration. There wouldn't be the Indies without Max. So great working with him. We've been collaborating for over 10 years now on the hairspring side, helping him develop the escapements on these movements. And when you see the Legacy collection, for example, the escapement is at the center, right? So super proud to have such a Canva. You can feature our elements on the dial, and the double hairspring LM101 is obviously something we're super proud of. So working with Max is great. He's very different from me, and I think that's why we work well together. Is we can learn from each other. We have very different ways of working, even though we did the same studies. We both went to the same engineering school here in Switzerland, just a few years apart. But yeah, I think I love collaborations in general with people that I can learn from. I think it helps you push boundaries of your brand, experiment new things, try things, bring people with you into a new world, make them discover something new. I personally feel it's one of the nicest part of the job is to collaborate with the right people. Not everybody is the right person to collaborate with. You need a certain affinity, and to be honest, I think with Max it was an amazing experience, and I'm sure that 3 is not going to be the end number. We just need to make sure we find great ideas for the next collaborations if we ever do another one.
Great. You have recently announced the collaboration sponsorship with the Alpine Formula One team. What does this partnership means to you? It helps you you have released a watch with them. It helps you to improve what kind of synergies do you have with Alpine?
So Alpine is it's not a collaboration just with Formula One. It's with the entire Alpine ecosystem. Alpine is a brand I grew up with. My father is a big Alpine fan, to be honest. He has a couple of them. He's racing. He's 80 years old, but he's racing old timers from Alpine, the Berlinette A110.
Mm-hmm.
So Alpine was always something that we looked at with my brother, and when they contacted us 6 months ago, or maybe a little bit more now, 9 months ago, I was very surprised and didn't believe it. But Alpine is in a repositioning of the brand. They're in the process of building the brand towards something more premium, more luxury. They need to collaborate with brands that are innovative, dynamic, and the CEO of Alpine, of the Renault Group, is a big fan of independent watchmaking and a big fan of Moser, Luca de Meo. He's actually a lot in Spain. I think he lives in Barcelona. I'm not sure. Anyway, they reached out to us. We said, well, we never done any sponsorship, so going into Formula One is a big step. Can we do it? Why would we do it? It has to make sense for us. And they were very supportive. They really gave us. For me, it's not about putting our brand on a Formula One. I mean, that's kind of cherry on the cake. But even, our logo, it's very difficult to read. In a car driving at 300 kilometers per hour, nobody's going to see it. So for me, it's more about all the other things you're talking about, those synergies. It's giving access to amazing experiences to our community, going to the Grand Prix, going to Alpine, visiting the manufacturer, going to drive on the ice with an Alpine, learning how to drive a Formula One, all those kind of experiences we can bring to the community. It's also allowing us to develop a more sporty line for Moser. I think it's interesting with new materials. They have 1,500 people working for Alpine to develop 2 cars on Formula One. So all those amazing engineers are a source of inspiration and knowledge for us. We have an exchange program where some of the engineers come to us, and some of our engineers or watchmakers go to them for a few weeks. We are working now on future products with crazy materials, with crazy ideas. At the same time, we're working on developing elements to put inside the cars. So yeah, for me, it's there's so much parallels between those 2 worlds, but you need to do it right. Again, it's not to put just a logo on the car. It's way beyond that. And if you look at the Alpine edition we did, for example, one thing that we made clear is we don't want a fight about logos. So there's no logos on the watch. It's an Alpine edition, but doesn't say Alpine on it, because I think there's nothing worse than a discussion about how big should the logo be from one brand to the other. Where are we going to put it? That's not the point. The point is about let's create a product that's represent both brands. That is about innovation, technology that represent our philosophy, our vision in common, and make it something that people who don't know Alpine will love, and people who know Alpine but don't know Moser might discover and love as well. And I think that's the success of this particular collection. And I'm really looking forward to the next steps where we really work hand in hand with the Alpine team.
Mm-hmm. And maybe for the next season, you will have a Spanish driver on the team. Maybe we will see a nice Moser on the wrist of Carlos Sainz.
Well, if Carlos Sainz is watching, you should pick Alpine.
Yeah, for sure. I will recommend him. I will recommend him to go to Alpine.
Yeah, tell him if he wants the best watch, should
for
come
sure.
to Alpine, and we'll work with him on creating something special. Yeah, so yeah, exciting. We had a great collaboration so far. It was great working with Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. We know that Esteban is unfortunately leaving. He loves our watches, and I hope he'll have the chance to continue to wear our watch in the future, and maybe we can do things together. And Pierre, not sure yet. I hope he stays with Alpine, because he's a great guy, very passionate. He loves what we do. We already have ideas about what we could do together if he stays with Alpine. So fingers crossed he stays, and yeah, hopefully we have Carlos. That would be a great team to work with on future products.
Yeah, and also with Mr. Flavio Briatore, one of the genius of the Formula One.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to meet him. It came a bit as a surprise, but again, for brands, visibility is important. You need characters, you need people that are a little bit crazy sometimes. And I think Briatore is one of those crazy people in this industry, that for the best or the worst, but you need that to keep it relevant, to make the fans get crazy, and I think yeah, let's see what he brings to the team and to Formula One in general.
Okay, great. You have always reached watch lovers and collectors in a different and a funny way. You have presented watches at the fairs with the slogan "Making Swiss Made Great Again," like the Swiss Alp watch, Cheese watch, Flower Seeds. Do you think that all the other brands are failing into approaching new generations?
Well, I think every brand does it very differently. I think that's what talks to our community, and we need to evolve as well. And I mean, the community changes, the audience changes constantly. I think the brands that do it well are usually the youngest brands, because they talk to their peers in a way. And you see like a very successful, recently launched brands, because they know how to embrace new technology. They have no big budget to waste money, so they focus on the essential, and usually they have a very clean discussion with the community. I think the big problem with a lot of brands is that they want to do too many things. Difficult, and slowly as at Moser, we're starting to face this more complex dimensions, where suddenly you have the sport watches, the classic watches, the jewelry watches, the very high-end watches, the entry-level watches, and suddenly it becomes much more complex to talk to everyone. I think what's easier for brands like ours, especially in the beginning, is that our audience is relatively restricted or restrained. It's a smaller audience, and you focus on one message, and it's usually something that talks to you. It's, the way we created the tone of voice for Moser was basically we just talk the way we talk with each other. Like, we have the same references in terms of humor, the movies we like, the classics, etc. And that's what we use for our communication. And obviously, it talked to people that are a little bit like us. And since we're creating watches that we want to wear ourselves, then there was a match. It was very holistic. As we grow, it becomes more and more complicated to do the same thing. But that's where maybe money compensates a little bit. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's something that I'm aware of. That I wouldn't say stresses me, but I think it's part of the life cycle of brands. Brands grow from. I like to compare it, and I say it many times, like human beings. Probably when I took over Moser, it was early teenage years. You need emancipation. You need to push boundaries. You need to provoke. You need to make your space. You say, I need a space for me. I think now we're more young adults, so we become a little bit wiser. I don't want to be too wise. I think we need to continue to emancipate and push the boundaries. But sometimes you cannot do it the exact same way as you've done it in the past, and you need to evolve. You need to find this new great thing that is you, and that talks to the people who like what you do. And I think that's been the strengths. I think we were the right brand at the right time for Moser, and it's been our strengths, but you can lose it very quickly. And again, you were talking about Alpine, why we do it. I think it's also a lot about perception. People want to be linked also to success. I think Moser has been a successful brand in the years, and this partnership with Alpine makes it also much more concrete. Oh, you're part of Formula One. You've made it in a way. It's part of the perception. It's the way we want to communicate more now about having achieved things, but to continue to push boundaries at the same time. And it's a fine equilibrium you need to find there.
All who love Moser love your dials, your Fumé dials. Do you produce your own dials?
So until now, not, but we're working on it. So that's I was saying in the beginning, we do everything from the movement standpoint. We even produce part of our bracelets with our machines. It's not on site, somewhere else. But the die's not. But that's the next step. And we're running out of space here. We're working on a new building. And one of the key elements that I want to integrate is the dial.
Mm-hmm. The mainland group includes Moser and Haute Lance. Do you have any kind of synergies between Haute Lance and Moser in terms of research and development?
In everything. I mean, it starts with me. I work probably 95% of my time with Moser, but I'm still in charge I'm for the last 2 years in charge of Haute Lance. We have Samuel and his teams. It's 3-4 people here. Now we move them to Schaffhausen, so they are in our building. We work together. They use the same engineers, but some work on more projects for Haute Lance, some on more projects for Moser. Sales team is the same. We use the same base calibers in many cases. Now that Haute Lance is kind of back and we see the success, we're developing specific movements, but in the last few years, we used Moser movements as a base. We work also with Agenor, which is something a structure we invested in with an Haute Lance. We have our subsidiaries, as I said, in New York, in Dubai, in Shanghai, and Hong Kong, which our own distribution teams, sales team, marketing team, and obviously a big part of their work is Moser, but they also focus on Haute Lance. We have what we call the Moser Land, which are our lounges in New York and Hong Kong, where we host our guests and we present the collections of Moser. Same time, we present the collections of Haute Lance. When we go to Watches and Wonders, we take a big space for Moser and Haute Lance together. Moser pays most of it, Haute Lance a fraction of it, but still gets a lot of visibility. So yeah, I think there's a lot of synergies.
Okay, great. Then it's true that you have changed the brand completely from the image of Moser that several years ago, but how do you see the future of the brand? How do you want to be in let's talk about 10 years period?
Well, I want to continue to grow. That's our ambition. We never hide it. A lot of brands say they want to stay small. They want to continue with the small. I think it's, to be honest, most of the time it's a bit of a lie. No, for us, we have the ambition. We need to be bigger. We need to be stronger. We need to continue to integrate. I want to master more of, you were talking about the dials, about engraving, more anglage, more of those things. I want to do it ourselves. So our ambition is to continue to integrate. That's why we're buying we're doubling the size of the building that we have right now. We're going closer to the waterfalls in the next few years. I want to continue to stay relevant, and that's where it's something that kind of you need to follow a little bit the flow. Where is the market going, and continue to be relevant for new generations. Continue to be innovative. Continue to create new movements. Very complicated ones. So we have the ambitions. We're creating the most complicated Moser movements we have ever done, and that's multi-years projects. But we also want to be more and more efficient, create amazing, very high performance entry-level movements to continue to capture the young collectors. I think it's very important for me to continue to be relevant. And we were talking about the launches of Watches and Wonders. Typically, the citrus is something that is very important for us to continue to attract people who want something fresh, new, but it's not crazy prices. We see the average price going very high for the Swiss watch industry, and for Moser, we shouldn't forget young collectors, and we will continue to make sure we bring smart, interesting things at a still expensive, but a relatively good price. So yeah, I want to be the leading independent brand, but at the same time, I think we have the capacity to challenge. I would say the the middle brands, like not the Trinity or Patek, AP. They'll be there. They're far away in front of us. They're creating 60,000, 70,000. They're everywhere. There's this ubiquity around those brands. No, that's not where we want to be. But I think there's a lot of brands that are a little bit lost in the middle, where we're getting a lot of shares from them because they're just not innovative. They're just leveraging their past. And I think they're getting lost. And that's where there's a huge opportunity for us to continue to capture people who don't want to watch from their grandfather or their father. They want to watch it for themselves, our generation and younger generations.
Good news for watch lovers and for Moser lovers.
Hopefully, and at the same time, we continue to be rare, meaning very limited, very controlled production, new thing, create the unexpected. I want people to be surprised that, I wouldn't have expected that from Moser. There's a few watches that we prepare for next year or even for this year where we said, let's not do them. It's too expected. That's what people think Moser will do. Well, let's not do it. Let's do something else. Let's do like the opposite. And I want people to continue to be surprised and amazed by what we come up with, which is challenging. I hope one day we don't run out of ideas. At the moment, we have tons of ideas. There's tons of projects we're working on, internally, externally. Probably with 6 or 7 collaborations we're working on right now. Some crazy capsules, very small or very crazy with major brands. But that keeps the brand living. I think the worst thing that can happen is to stop creating and innovating. Sometimes we will miss the point. Maybe there will be launches that are not successful, but I don't care. I think what's more complicated, what's more dangerous for a brand is not to do anything, and you can be sure that that's not going to happen with Moser.
Yeah, Ed, can you tell us what is the total production of Moser of watches?
So last year we produced around 3,500, a little bit less than 4,000 watches.
Okay.
And this year, we're still going to be below 4,000, but we're growing a little bit from last year.
Great. What are the most important markets for you? And is the Spanish market interesting, considering that you are in a partnership with Rabat?
Now with Carlos Sainz joining Alpine. US is the biggest country for us, but as a region, Asia is bigger. It's about 35%. North America is, Americas, which is Mexico to Canada. We're not in South America. That's about 30% of our business. Europe is 25%, all included. And then the Middle East, about 10%. So I think we're pretty well balanced. China is a big focus for us. Everybody says slowing down for us. We started 2 years ago with our own boutiques. We have a boutique in Shanghai. We have a boutique in Beijing, and they're doing extremely well. So I believe there's a big future for Moser also in China. But not only, our strategies, we don't want to be dependent on one collection. So that's why we have Endeavor, Pioneer, Heritage, and Streamliner. We could do way more Streamliner, but it's important to stay balanced. But same thing with the countries, with the markets. We want to stay not too dependent on one single market, because you never know. The brands that were too dependent on China when COVID hit, they got really crashed. And I think it's important for us to manage risk. And Spain, I mean, we have an amazing partner. We love the Rabat family. Jordi has been extremely successful and extremely supportive of our brand. So yeah, I see a bright future for us in your region. Hopefully one day we can open a Moser boutique. In the meantime, I'm sure next year for the Formula One Grand Prix, we'll be there with the team. That's the ambition. We cannot be every year everywhere, so we pick a few races. This year we went to Shanghai, we had a big event. We went to Miami, we had a big event. And in Europe, we decided to go to Silverstone in 2 weeks. I'll be there with guests. But next year we will be in Barcelona, I believe. That's at least one box we ticked, and hopefully we can see a lot of our friends from the community in Barcelona together with the brand, and hopefully again, as you said, with a Spanish driver.
And also in 2 years in Madrid, because in 2026 we are going to have our own Formula One
in Madrid as well. Yeah, it's great, and I look forward to it. And yeah, I mean that gives us even more chance to go twice to Spain in 2 years, because it's a different place.
Yeah. Then the last question: if you were not wearing that Moser watch, which brand and model would you wear?
tough one. There's many brands I personally like. As you know, I grew up with AP because my father was running AP, and I have a beautiful championship 36 millimeter tantalum steel Royal Oak in quartz that probably I would wear. To be honest, I like the Melon brand. It's our family brand. They have a lot of vintage classics. In the vintage, I love, for example, Universal Genève, the 3 compacts. I think it's an amazing classic watch. So it's very difficult for me to pick. I love the Japanese brand, the Germanic brands. I think you can see it in the essence of what Moser looks like. So the Grand Seiko or the Junghans Nomos type of brands. Difficult for me to pick one. So yeah, if I had to pick one, I would probably take the Universal Genève 3 compacts right now, and I would wear that one.
They are coming back in 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing. We'll see.
We'll see. Edouard, thank you for being with us at the Indie Talk.
My pleasure.
It has been
thank you
pleasure.
For giving me the opportunity, and great meeting you again.
I hope to see you soon here in Madrid or in Spain with Nicolas and also Natalie. Best regard to all of them. And
my pleasure.
It has been a real pleasure to have you.
Same here. Thank you for having me. Great discussion. Love your questions. And yeah, let's catch up soon, and latest next year in Barcelona for the Grand Prix.
We will be there. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.